Hello, everyone. My name is Carl Peterson. I'm the Partnerships Manager at the Charter Cities Institute. I would like to thank you all for showing up today and welcome you to our mini Catapult series that we do in association with AFIDA, the Africa Infrastructure Development Association. We'll start with a round of introductions, and of course, we'll start with our partner, Vivek from AFIDA.
Thank you very much, Carl. Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning if you're joining from across the pond. My name is Vivek Mittal. I run Africa Infrastructure Development Association, AFIDA for short, and we're delighted to do this together with CCI. The whole point is that we get interested and interesting developers who are developing their first projects in cities and infrastructure from across the continent to participate in a process that will give them access to capital quite much faster than they might be able to do themselves, fill in any gaps in terms of training, but more importantly, engage in peer-to-peer learning from across the continent. And finally, also get any support if necessary in dealing with the governments and public institutions and development and the multilateral development banks, all towards creating scale and speed and quality of cities and infrastructure. So my only request to everybody here, I'm going to be in silent mode and turn off my video because I'm outdoors and I don't want to disturb the proceedings, but keep it short and precise and simple. Look to inspire your counterparts as to why you're the right people to do this, why, what your journey has been, what has inspired you to start this process, and why they will make money and not lose money with you. These are the 3 or 4 key areas. So try to keep within 10 minutes, and because that is what the actual thing in Kigali is going to be like. So on that basis, I'm going to shut off or go into silent mode, but listening in keenly and looking forward to hearing more and more from all of you. All the very best.
Thanks, Vivek. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Kirk, would you introduce yourself real fast?
Good morning from North Carolina, beautiful North Carolina. I'm Kirk Hilton with Maroon Associates, and we're very much interested in participating in any form of development in Africa. We see Africa as the future, and with our partners, we have several partners on here as well, Jude and Larry, and some other folks will be jumping in as well. But we're here to open our ears and to hear and to open our mind and to listen and to learn as well. Thank you very much for inviting us, Carl.
Thanks, Kirk. Luckman.
Hi, guys. My name is Lukman. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Itana, formerly called Talent City. We're building the first truly digital-free zone in Africa. Founded the company with Ina Boyji, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Tony. Maybe Tony's still grabbing his coffee. Gaius.
Yeah, my name is Gaius, based in Zambia. We are part of the Bridge Consortium, currently developing a smart city in Zambia and farm cities and working on the Lubito corridor concurrently. Thank you.
Awesome. Jude.
Hi, my name is Jude from Ghana. I'm currently representing Marin Associates. I'm with Kirk, and I'm glad to be here and to, participate in development of, great and sustainable cities in Africa. Thank you.
Carrie. Carrie also might be grabbing some coffee. Victor.
Hi, my name is Victor Chinyemba, and I'm one of the directors in the Bridge Consortium, where we are developing the smart city and farm city in Mwinilonga, Zambia.
Larry.
Hi, my name's Larry, and I'm working with Maroon Associates to help Kirk in his development in our African movement. My specialization is in security at all levels, not just the physical security, but threat analysis and such. I'm here to help and do what I can for my man Kirk.
Great. It looks like guys, you have someone else tapping in again, so we're gonna do Amadou. All right, then we're gonna do Coco.
Hi, everyone. I'm Coco. I work with Lukman on Itana. Nice to meet you guys and glad to be here.
Pat.
Hi everyone. My name is Pat, and my full name is Patuto Lonodata. I'm from Siga Capital International, and we developers of Lanseria Smart City. And I'm interested in partnering and exploring more into the continent. And I'm mostly focused in South Africa for now. And we're driving the Lanseria Smart City in South Africa.
Great. Looks like we're gonna do Olamide. You are unmuted, but we were not able to hear you. Yeah, it looks like there might be a problem with the microphone, Olamide. We were not able to hear you, unfortunately. So we're gonna do Jonathan. All right, looks like another communication issue here. So Mwanda, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks, Carl. Happy to. Hi, everyone. My name is Mwanda Piri, African Lead for the Charter Cities Institute. Looking forward to listening to the presentations today.
Great. We have a couple of our researchers sitting in here. So Jeff, our research manager, as well as Tommy and Eva. We're going to go ahead and try Olamide. Are you able to connect now?
Hi, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Great. Apologies for that. So yeah, Olamide, I'm working with Signum Capital. We're supporting the Itana team on their project development. Pleasure to be connected.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So I think that's just about everyone. Tony is with Gensler. I don't know if Tony's able to pop back in, the architecture firm. But with that, I think we'll finally start here. So Gaius, you are first. So please go ahead and let us know about your project.
Great, thanks, Carl. Thank you so much. Would you give me the sharing rights on the, because I've got two accounts logged in.
You should already have sharing rights.
Yeah, one is Gaius Mangana King, my full names. So can you? Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much. Everyone for coming together. My presentation is basically based on the ideology of building smart cities to enhance economic growth in Africa. And basically my baseline for today's conversation will be giving an introduction of who we are. And then of course highlighting the corridor, the Liberator corridor as a basis of where we are going to have to build the smart city and the farm cities. And of course, highlight the need of why we need to do that in creating robust cities, and then highlight the benefits of the Gabriel King smart city on how it fits into the whole picture. and so on and so forth. And then I'll talk about the overall picture, benefits of the Lobito corridor. So this is who we are as a Bridge Consortium. We are predominantly a startup, although most people argue. We founded in 3 years ago in 2020, in the midst of COVID. And we basically design and execute high impact value projects in the Sub-Saharan Africa jurisdiction. And so we do the whole thing, you know. So we turnkey, get land, we develop, we do studies, and so on and so forth. So this is who we are. Predominantly, we are. We have 3 divisions that form the Bridge Consortium. The first division is predominantly looking at corridors, PPPs, through tolling solutions. And under this division, we have the Lobito corridor. So I'm sure if you go online, you see a bit of noise about the Lobito corridor. We are attempting to undertake the first of its kind in terms of, if you look at the SADC region, in opening up a very, very important corridor that will link Zambia and Congo to the nearest port, which is basically the Lobito corridor. So that is under feasibility now, working with Zutari. Zutari should be one of the biggest engineering firms on the continent. They are working on the study right now. Then we've got the second division that basically looks at smart cities, or rather, you know, they are more industrial oriented export zones. Under this division, we have the Gabriel King Smart City, which is a project under which is a project that we are currently executing. Then the third division is the climate change, farming, and natural resources division. Under this division, we've got the farm block, which is a 30,000 hectare piece of land currently under development. And we have also a small forestry division that supports our ideology of sustainability. So we have a forestry division basically to support how we execute infrastructure. And we've made it very, very clear that we are executing infrastructure in the most sustainable way in terms of replanting trees and, you know, making sure that we maintain forests and so on and so forth. So that's basically who we are, and that's our ownership structure. I will also endeavor to talk about Zambia. Most of you, sure, Carl, you've been to Zambia. Why Zambia? I've spent my time predominantly living in South Africa and part of Europe. And Zambia is a special case because we are surrounded by 10 countries. And the only country that has got, you know, that number of countries surrounding them is probably Congo, maybe at 12, Nigeria, and a few other places. But we have an opportunity to turn Zambia into a very robust industrial hub. We are surrounded by Angola, Congo DRC, Tanzania, Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia. But most importantly, we're also linked to East Africa through the Lake Tanganyika, through Mpulongo. So we've got access to, immediate access to Burundi and Rwanda, and so on and so forth. We've got predominantly, if I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not being biased, we've got the most stable economy in terms of political geo-economy. We are very, very stable. Track record of governance. I think we've changed governments 4 or 5 times now. We have the best soils, very, very good weather. And most importantly, we've got a lot of abundant natural resources, from rare earth minerals and so on and so forth. So there's every reason and every motivation to to do what we are doing. We also have access to South Africa, so it's a day's drive or less, and so on and so forth. When we look at border cities, and this is where I'll start from, we are predominantly building a border city. If you look on the map, you'll be able to see where we are. We are building Zambia's first border city, and I think we should be the first as well on the continent. The magnitude and the complexity of what we are doing. Building an industrial hub right at the border with Zambia. If you look a bit closely, we are right there on the border between Zambia and DRC, 65 kilometers away from Kolwezi, which has a very robust industrial base. I think it should be the oldest mining community in Africa, home to some of the biggest mining operations in the world, and they buy everything from water to the biggest caterpillars on the face of the earth. So people ask me, why do you think it's going to work in Zambia? And we have a few examples, global examples, that I'll probably highlight. I'm currently in the US now, and I've been able to visit some of these places. So we've got the Mongolia-China border city, sort of, which is a robust industrial base, a city built right at the border with El Paso, between the US and Mexico. We've got Vancouver. This is an interesting one. Yeah, you've got hundreds and hundreds of billions, being stimulated through that connectivity. And then you've got El Salvador. And I'll bring home, into Africa. 10 of our national capitals in Africa, border cities. I think I've been to 8 of them. You've got Gaborone in Botswana. You've got Maseru in Lesotho, and so on and so forth. So it's not something new that we're embarking on. It might just be a bit different in terms of how we're executing it, and in terms of the layout, and so on and so forth. Now, we are building this on the premise of opening up the Lobito corridor, which is of a very, very important corridor. And I saw a few days ago that the highway that is being built in Nigeria, between Nigeria and Abidjan, which is a beautiful thing, but something similar. But this has been something that should have been done many, many years ago. Currently, Zambia and Congo, part of Congo, have to use the South African ports, Durban, or they have to go down to Namibia, Wabish Bay, clocking almost 3,000 kilometers. We need to open up the Lobito corridor that cuts that total distance haulage by over 1,000 kilometers. Very, very close to where we are.
Guys, may I just interrupt for a second, please? So I think you're well past 10 minutes at this point in time. It's a very interesting project, very relevant for what is required in the country as well. But from a presentation point of view, at the actual event, you'll have about this much time to present your entire project, what your investment needs are, what the steps are, and all. So I think you're coming to the end of your presentation, but by already you're well past the time. And part of what we'll do between now and Kigali is a discussion on how we help you compress the messaging.
Yes, go on.
Was on mute all this while.
I think Vivek, you cut out about right after you talked about compressing the messaging.
Yeah, so please carry on and finish your presentation, but between now and Kigali, we'll work on how to make this a very much more concise and snappier messaging, and we'll work on that. But I see that you're on slide 8 right now. You're halfway through, and you're well past the 10-minute time that we would normally have in an actual pitch to investors. But please continue and finish as soon as you can.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so I was highlighting the importance of opening up the regulatory corridor, and along that corridor, we are supporting the corridor with the smart city, supported by a farm block, which is predominantly a farm city. So when we look at the highlights of the Gabriel King Smart City, it's 10,000 hectares of land, creating at full capacity, and once everything has been done, about 56,000 jobs, and we are seeking to attract at least $5 billion worth of foreign direct investments. And with this strategic location, we are basically looking at servicing Zambia, Congo, and DRC, in terms of servicing them in terms of their industrial needs. And we are in the process of working with the government to gazette this as a special economic zone for obvious reasons. So these are the highlights of this map. We are 65 kilometers away from Kolwezi, not right in the midst of a lot of mining activities, a lot of agriculture activities on the Zambian side. We are also supported by 2 farm blocks that are 15,000 hectares each. We are currently deploying infrastructure in these projects to be able to aid, the operations in terms of, the relation between where we are and the smart city. The agriculture need for export is extremely important. We export a lot of agriculture produce into DRC. So those are the highlights. We are looking at cumulatively growing what we have organically. And probably I'll be able to explain that the first phase of the farm city, our ask is a bare minimum of about $5 million. And then that will then in turn get us to the second phase and the third phase and so on and so forth, so that we can be able to organically grow, as a company, and also organically grow the infrastructure, bulk infrastructure outcomes organically. So this is predominantly what we are looking at in terms of our ask. And people ask us, because it's quite a huge project, why are you doing it? Because we believe in our project. So we don't want to float a lot of equity. We want it to grow organically. Yeah, I think that really forms part and parcel of my pitch today. The benefits, of course, of the corridor supported by the farm block and the smart city are enormous. So these are just some of the highlights. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Gaius. I think we'll open up the floor now to any questions and discussions on this project. So I think we have about 10 minutes we can do that with before we need to go ahead and move on to Itana to make sure that we're sticking with time. So currently right now we're shooting to end no later than about 15 past the hour. So for a total of 70 minutes today. But are there any questions that we'd like to sort of field for Gaius here? Jeff, who is unable to actually speak, has asked the question in the chat. Gaius, what is your initial target population?
Yeah, what does it mean? Just to be.
Yeah, who are the people that you're initially targeting to bring in to your city projects? What kind of, I guess, probably a couple ways. One, who are the actual people? How many folks are you looking at bringing in? And what sort of specific businesses are you looking at bringing in?
Yeah, I think it was part of the pitch. I think we're looking at bringing in about 56,000 people.
Great. Mwanda, you have a question.
Yes, just a quick one, sorry. Thanks, guys, for the presentation. I just wanted to understand the return on the investment. I was looking at your IRR and it's quite high. So I was wondering if you could maybe speak to that a little bit in terms of the expected revenue sources.
Okay, thank you so much. I have Amadou is here. Probably you can respond to that.
Okay, so I don't know if I'm audible enough.
Yeah,
Hello?
you're a great Amadou. Go ahead.
Okay, so the return of investment is based actually just on phase one of the farm city. Yeah, so the revenue we're looking at phase one will be about $75 million. And I think the profit would be around somewhere about $12 million. And what we did with the selling price of the land, we're actually very conservative. So we noticed that the farm city, in terms of phase one, that's the reason why we picked the farm city. Actually, it's a very highly profitable phase. It takes less capital, but it seems to return a much better rate of return for the investor.
Great, thank you. Vivek, you have a question.
So there's several. No, thank you very much. It's there are elements of the presentation that I'm missing. One off, I think you were projecting more jobs and residents in one of your slides. And I don't remember the exact numbers over there, but how can that be that you have more jobs in the city than there are residents? I would have thought that for every job, there would be about one family of 3 or 4, so you'd have about 4 times the residents.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. So it's direct and indirect jobs. So yeah, so the ratio is really looking at the whole value chain, direct. And remember, we also have the Lubito corridor. We have the forestry side, the farm city, and the smart city. So it's direct and indirect jobs. So those are the estimates. But
okay.
It makes sense. It makes sense what you're asking. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
direct
I
and
mean,
indirect jobs.
It could be that 2/3 of the jobs belong to people who will not live in the city and they're coming in and out every day or something like that. But you may need to clarify that. The investment amount that you're suggesting, you're proposing, what is it going to be used for?
Yeah, thank you so much. Amadou, would you pick up that question?
Okay, so the initial $5 million that we're asking for is will be used for bulk infrastructure for the farm city. So that is the roads. I want to make sure that the roads are done. We also want to make sure that there'll be water connectivity to all the farm plots. We also want to make sure that there'll be electricity in all of the farm plots. So the $5 million is mostly bulk infrastructure and also internet connectivity. And then also we would also add, I think, a filling station, also construct a filling station and a motor service center, and a hospital, and a lodge also, just to allow the earlier settlers to have access to, I think, their basic needs while they're, I think, going about constructing the farm plots.
Okay, and what is the role of the Zambian government or the local, any arm of the government in this? Furthermore, I mean, the reason I'll tell you the reason I'm asking for that is, one is government engagement is in relation to permits and authorizations, but there's also support. So assuming somebody is willing to put that $5 million initial capital and even the one behind that, and that money will have to be invested and the infrastructure will have to be built probably before the first residents come up and take residence. Who is going to guarantee that investment is going to be paid back? So assuming there's a delay in getting the first residents in, assuming the downside scenario that it takes longer, it costs more, things don't happen to plan. Who will stand behind and pay the investors back their investment in case?
I think I can go ahead. I think I can answer that one. I think that's the beauty about investing in cities. So if the investor invests, let's say, $5 million into the first phase, they're not just investing in the first phase, they're actually having an ownership in the company. And this company has 50,000 hectares of land. And the $45 million valuation is not even to do with projected sales. It's based on the current valuation of the land. So we are confident that in whichever case or whichever scenario, we are more than capable of paying back the investor by just selling bare land. So, but that's not what we want to do. So the idea is to use that investment and add value to the land and build the city.
Yeah, and just to add on, we are a private company, so we don't get guarantees from government whatsoever. But we can help you get guarantees from ZDA. They're called basically investment. It's an investment guarantee, which is basically a lot of comfort. But most importantly, we will talk to, we'll discuss with the investor for in exchange for preferential shares. So that really gives a lot of comfort to whoever is coming on board. And of course, have an exit, plan well articulated in the shareholders agreement. So those things can be worked around.
Okay, and look, I mean, if we had more time, and we need to spend more time to fine tune the story, so that when we actually get you in front of investors, there is a more coherent. I mean, these are some obvious questions that people will ask. So it's just an example of what you will hear, and let's just make sure that the presentation brings it out very neatly and tightly. But thank you very much. I don't have any further points to make.
Awesome. Thank you, Vivek, and thank you, Gaius. We appreciate it. I think now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll move on to Itana. So with that, Luckman, you should have sharing rights already. So at your leisure, please go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, so I'll try and keep this short and sweet. It is quite a long presentation, so I'll just scan through everything as quickly as possible. So yeah, so my name is Lukman. I am representing Itana. I got Olamide and Coco on the call with me. What we're doing is that we're building Africa's first digital free zone. So the goal is to build the ideal online jurisdiction for global and Pan-African digital and service companies to be able to operate and scale across Africa. So I wouldn't go too much about some of the background information, but obviously, I'm sure a lot of people know about a lot of the stats in Africa. What people might not know is obviously it's also the fastest growing continent for software developers. As of now, what we see, there's a lot of investment in internet, the population, and obviously this project starting in Nigeria, where as you can see, that is where about 30% of investment in tech is going to currently in Africa. Africa is obviously an opportunity a lot of foreign investors are looking at. But we start with talking about the challenges that we see when we talk to investors trying to come into Africa, right? The significant ones being some of the regulations and policy volatility, the challenges in infrastructure, and also the underdeveloped ecosystem, right? Which these are all things that also are challenges for the digital economy and doing business in that sector. One of the interesting stats we found while we were developing this project was stats to do with Delaware, right? Where Delaware, with the Stripe Atlas being one of the vehicles people use to incorporate businesses, actually house about 20,000 businesses from Africa from Nigeria, sorry, and Nigeria again being one of the fastest growing types of businesses that are being incorporated in Delaware, right? Showing you that a lot of people tend to incorporate in Delaware even for Africa. So again, right, Itana creating a special economic zone or a free zone for the digital economy and seeing the future of work. So what do we think, or what are we describing as this digital free zone? How do we describe this digital free zone? So as we said, a free zone specifically for startups, technology and services businesses operating digitally. I said it will start up. The idea, it's an online jurisdiction, and I mentioned before, to incorporate and operate your businesses with the right laws for tax, immigration, and banking, and also access to business and government services to be able to remotely incorporate and operate from anywhere in the world. Right. While we are a digital free zone, we can't run away as companies build online and grow online. They will start to obviously have more people on ground in Africa. So we can't run away of the challenges of infrastructure in Africa. So this digital free zone will be coupled with an actual physical startup district and an accelerator program, right, which is the phase 2 of our project. But at the moment, we are working on both phases at the same time. Obviously, digital will still be launched first, and the physical district will launch hopefully by 2025. But all pre-dev has already started. So our mission, as I said, is to create the ideal online jurisdiction for global companies trying to come into Africa, and also companies in Nigeria trying to scale Pan-African, right? Scale and get clients Pan-African. We are building a digital society, and as I said, we have talked about the physical district. Our physical district is, we have the land already. It's in a very ideal position in Lagos. So we have 12 hectares in Alaro, which is in Lagos, about an hour drive from Lagos City. And what's really strategic about the property, it's down the Lekki-Ekpe axis. It's about 2 minutes away from the new international airport and very close to the new deep sea port that is being built. So again, right, high level about what makes up Itana is 3 pillars. So firstly, obviously, building the governance aspect of it, right? So creating the ideal regulatory or policy environment for service and for global service and tech and startup companies, right? And the ability for them to remotely and incorporate as a free zone enterprise and offshore company and get access to banking, being able to do your tax filings, your permits, licenses, and business and corporations and stuff. Second part of Itana is the infrastructure I've spoken about. So this startup city. We are being very ambitious with the city. So we're also seeing it as the opportunity to showcase what a future African city can look like. To also speak to this more, and obviously we're building community, right? So we did launch our digital residency program as I think last year. So we do have a digital community growing, and obviously and online business and digital businesses growing in our community already. And obviously the goal is that as these companies grow, right, that the infrastructure is actually built for the community, right? So this isn't really a commercial real estate play. Our digital community will de-risk the infrastructure before we even go into construction. So we have a global team. As I said, my name is Lukman. I'm the CEO. My founding partner, who's a lot more popular than me, is Itana Boyeji. He comes from the tech ecosystem. Anyone here probably know from that ecosystem probably knows him. He founded 2 of the 5 unicorns that came out of Nigeria. That is Andela and Flutterwave, and he's now the general partner of one of the largest early stage startup VC companies coming from Nigeria. Coco's on the call with me. She's our COO. As I said, we have a global team of people. I won't go through everyone. JLL are leading on the development side. We got Olamide on the call, obviously our financial advisor. And we got a global team, obviously Charlie Institute. Carl, we got your picture up here. I've been working with us on all the policy work we're working on with the government. So to now break down the project a little bit more, so you sort of get to know where we are. So like I said, as of 2 years ago, we got the law passed in Nigeria. So we are working very closely with the Nigerian government. So we got the law passed for them to be able to set up, for the government to be able to establish a new type of free zone, right? In Nigeria, they call it a virtual city free zone, but it's technically a digital free zone. So we got the law passed, and for over the last 2 years, we've been investing in developing the policy and the technology and infrastructure to be for these kind of zones to be able to operate. Our partnership with the government is that we would invest in obviously enabling these type of free zones, but then we would then also have the exclusivity to operate the first digital free zone for Nigeria exclusively for 5 years, with the ability to renew again for 5 years. So like I said, we have gone pretty far in the policy work. We have the ability to pilot the digital free zone right now. So we have the fundamental laws passed. And as I said, we do have an exclusive agreement with the Nigerian government to operate the first exclusively, to be like a sandbox, right, for the first 5 years before other digital free zones will be enabled in Nigeria. So again, looking globally, what this looks like. So obviously we are the first in Africa of this kind of free zone. Similar projects around the world is Estonia, which obviously serves Europe. In Dubai has a couple of these, obviously serving the Middle East, and we know people like Delaware, Catawba, etc. In the US. What this jurisdiction would do, so we will be launching an Itana app. As I said, we are in pilot phase at the moment. But the idea is that global companies will be able to incorporate in our zone, and obviously using the AFCTA trade agreement. Hopefully the idea is that as you incorporate your business vehicle in this free zone, you can actually use this vehicle to operate across the largest African market. I said, as you incorporate, we are building the technology infrastructure with the Nigerian government to be able to access government services and business services, to be able to open up your bank account, do your tax filing, do your business visas, get sector business licenses. Let's say a fintech company or crypto company, be able to get the relevant licenses to be able to incorporate. As I say, open a business account. As a free zone company in Nigeria, you would have no expatriate quota in obviously getting your business visas. There are tax benefits which we're still negotiating, and we're hopefully concluding before the end of this year with the government on how tax will operate in this zone. But definitely there will be incentives for corporate income, your tax on dividends and VAT. As a free zone company, you can obviously you can operate in dollars, which helps you protect against currency volatility. And Nigeria, one of the biggest challenges, if you read the news in Nigeria, and you see, especially when you look at the aviation sector, like Emirates and companies like the Emirates, who have stopped operating in Nigeria. And one of their biggest challenges is their ability to expatriate their capital out of the country, right, due to some of the CBN restrictions. As a free zone entity, investors will have the freedom to expatriate their capital without the regular restrictions that is put on local companies. And obviously, we're building this great community, which I'm sure Coco will talk about very soon. Very high level projections. We are looking around the world and the demand of Africa. We are planning to be able to incorporate at least 5,000 companies in the next 5 years. I've talked about the incentives. Biggest incentive is the ability to be able to set up a free zone without, and unlike before we were established, for you to be in a free zone in Nigeria, you have to be physically present and have physical interest in land, right? In a free zone. So we obviously have bypassed that. So we were the first free zone in Nigeria where you don't actually have to invest in land to be able to incorporate as a free zone enterprise. And obviously, with this, we haven't talked too much about it. This project, we're working. It's a project of national interest with Nigeria because of the forecast on the jobs, on the amount of capital importation we'll bring into the country, and even ease of business of Nigeria. I won't talk too much about it, but this new government that we have, obviously, if you've been working with Nigeria, we are in a very, we have just transitioned to a new government. We're very pro work, pro business, and pro investment. They are seeing this as a project of national interest because of the projections of what this project could do for Nigeria. So Coco, who's more in touch with the community, I think that I'll let her speak about all the progress we've made on building our digital community.
Yeah, hi. So as Luca mentioned, we are looking to register around 5,000 companies in the next 5 years. And so in the process, these businesses will serve, so there's founders, directors, will serve as our core community. And so essentially builders and innovators of Africa's future. And additionally, we are also building a digital resident community for everyone who's building in the continent or interested in building a business on the continent. So we're different from sort of a typical cities project in that in the real estate, we wouldn't do commercial, like instead of the typical sales, like in the beginning, these businesses and their employees will naturally serve as our community base for the project. Additionally, so in the process, we'll also have our vendor marketplace. So for when businesses expand into the continent, they wouldn't be as lost in terms of what they want to do. And so our vendor marketplace that would have, like, say, tax consultants, legal consultants, or branding and marketing, or payroll to familiarize themselves with the Nigerian business landscape and the African landscape. So from our infrastructure district perspective, we're located in Lagos along the Lekki Expressway. It's going to be a 72,000 square meters or 7 hectares space with accommodation for up to 3,000 remote workers. So the city, our district, is built for remote work, as you can see on that picture. So such type of co-living, co-working type of spaces is rare in Lagos or Africa in general. And so having a place that has stable power, internet, an environment that's optimized for remote work is sort of how we envision the model cities of Africa's future. And here is a high-level overview of our master plan. As you can see, we have, so all of the build will feature a central startup campus in the middle on the side. And then so that's where a lot of the networking, spontaneous interactions will happen. And there's also a central park, green space, and then with outdoor workstations sort of sprinkled around with co-living and co-working buildings. So this is sort of what I spoke about. And it's we're trying to make it eco-friendly and sustainable. A lot of carless and more smart mobility is like design in the process. So this district in itself is carless aside from the service vehicles that will pass through.
So I can take this, or actually no, I'll leave it to Olamide. Olamide, you want to take this part?
Yeah, sure. I'll just quickly go through. I think as both Coco and Lukman have emphasized, this is a sort of digital-led opportunity where the infrastructure that's being developed is essentially to provide the physical support for these businesses as they grow and develop and enable their physical presence on the continent, but also to provide the corresponding services that were kind of referenced digitally. So, tax, bank accounts, business advisors, and the design essentially reflects that. So the total project will be done across 5 phases, with sort of replicated buildings across those 5 phases. But the initial phase is a roughly investment amount of $74 million, which will incorporate a startup campus, residential accommodation around that, and then a commercial mixed-use building. Again, the emphasis being that the kind of digital services are replicated physically, and what is being envisaged in terms of de-risking is that the community that is being developed by the company is essentially going to lead on the offtake for all of this physical infrastructure. That really means that, you know, the Starters campus already has LOIs or commitment to take up that space from Future Africa. And then there are other LOIs in place from some banks and other service providers who would essentially take up some of the commercial and mixed use retail space. The accelerator fund again is so maybe taking a step back, I think it's probably important to emphasize that the investment is envisaged across all three pillars. So it isn't really a sort of infrastructure or digital led investment. The opportunities is to invest across all of them because there is an interdependency between each of these features. So within that, one of the key sort of de-risking or offtake mechanisms for the infrastructure is a startup accelerator fund that's envisaged. So that will both be a use of the physical space as well as an anchor to encourage businesses and other related service providers to take up space within the physical infrastructure.
I'll take this quickly. So just to let you know, updated where we are. I've mentioned that we have signed the agreement with the federal government. We've gotten the first law passed. We're still the regulations and policy, and it's going to be a continuous thing. So I would say that we're with regulations and obviously new regulations will continue to go. But we have, as of last month, we have achieved enough regulations that we can pilot the activities of our free zone. So we can essentially start incorporating business licenses. And we start incorporating businesses into our zone. And we closed our pre-seed round in January, where we raised the first 2 million, mostly for the digital free zone. So we are already in development of the Itana Edge app. Obviously working very closely with the government on the policy development. We might be doing a bridge round before end of this year, so there might be a window for people to come back in. But right now, as I said, the VC, our investment was led by Local Globe, which is a UK VC company, Amplo, which is from the US, Pronomos, which is also from the US, and Future Africa. As I said, we also have engaged PwC on a lot of the advisory. Apart from that, we do have a formal interest from AFC to be our co-developer for this project. We just finished. I don't think it's been and they want to bring at least $50 million into the project, which will be both equity and debt. They want to fund our pre-dev work. I think that in the next 2 to 4 weeks, hopefully, that will be concluded. So we would be getting the first phase or the first inflow from AFC, hopefully in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I would say. We have secured the land, which is valued at 12.5 million in Alaro City, Lagos Free Trade Zone. We have concluded the master plan, and as Olamide said, which is quite unique, is that even at master plan stage, we're already signing LOIs from major global companies to be invested in, to be tenants in the physical. I think why we're able to do this so early is because we have a digital community. So people obviously planning to provide service to our physical community are allowed to start providing service to our digital community before the physical comes up. Olamide, again, right, as I'll let you maybe quickly talk about this. I know that we're probably off our 10 minutes. I think we'll just do a couple more slides. The rest is more appendix stuff, so we might not need to go into that. But Olamide, you want to quickly talk about that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just very quickly in terms of the structure of the investment, which I alluded to. So there will be a holding company essentially in which people that want to benefit across the three pillars will invest. Just in terms of the use of proceeds, you can see how the capital allocation is roughly envisaged to be split between the virtual district side, which is the policy, regulatory, and software development that Lukman referred to, and then the development of the physical infrastructure. Within that as well, the accelerator fund will be housed, and then there's the option also to allocate capital towards a direct investment into the fund as well as into the GP that will manage or house that fund.
And I think that's it, right? So obviously, we're in the final stages of setting up that co-development partnership with AFC, which we hope to conclude in the next couple of weeks. And then we will be, once that is concluded, we will be seeking other investors to come in at that holdco level. I think that's basically what this is. Just random stuff. It's been awesome. We have got a lot of organic press throughout the years. We were on the front page of Financial Times in the US. We are already being taught by the Columbia MBA program. And obviously we've gotten some press globally. And I think that the only thing I want to just show is some of the use cases around the world of where tech or digital free zones, and that's how that has been successful around the world. So Shenzhen in China obviously expanded their economy at 10,000-fold in over 40 years. Dubai have over 20 countries in their thing, and Estonia have been able to bring in about 1.8 billion in turnover and about 6,700 jobs I think in the first 5 years of operations or something. And when it comes to Africa, right, we do intend to bring at least $1 billion. We do see at least $1 billion in this project enabling at least $1 billion in FDI into Nigeria, at least 10,000 jobs, and obviously easier business in Africa. I think that's enough for now. And obviously I'll leave it to any questions.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Luckman. And now we'll open up the floor to questions. Vivek, it looks like you have a question.
Thank you very much. So very, very well articulated. What comes through is, the summation of what I'd say is, you guys are saying we know what we're doing. We've been at it for a while. We really believe in this. If you give us some money, it'll be well served. But you also know from the previous comments, it's just way too long. If you need to be able to say all of this in 5 slides, and that's the process ahead. So I don't really have any further. I mean, there'll be lots of detailed questions we can go through in doing that. But I'd say very well put together. There is clarity in the way you're approaching this that comes through. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? I have a question, Luckman. In terms of the digital governance and digital free zone, and who are you turning to in terms of advisory for folks who have experience with things similar to like eStonia?
So right now, our primary advisor, I think that we have here. So we are about to launch an advisory board to bring more people in. But Michael Castle-Miller, I'm sure you might have heard of him. He used to be of ASG. He is our lead global policy advisor. Obviously, Carl, your picture is here. I know we haven't spoken for a while, but we'll be coming back to you soon, right? So I'll say there was some slowdown because of transition of government, right? So obviously we were waiting for the new government to come in before we could continue more policy engagement. But and we are looking to set up a policy advocate consortium, global, separate to Itana, right, to be able to build on this. But I'll say ASG is there. We are, I can't say yet because it's finalized, and we're also looking to hire a senior global chief policy officer. Hopefully we'll be joining the team. I'm sure who you know the person. I'm sure you've heard of the person who worked with eStonia. Hopefully we'll be looking to bring him in full time to lead our policy and business team before end of this year. So we're just about to hire someone, hopefully before end of the year. But obviously we do have, like you, API with a local advisory firm, Michael, who's global. We're all setting up a board of advisors to also join.
Great, thank you. Are there any more questions? All right, great. If there are no more questions, I think we'll wrap it up here. Thank you all for showing up today, and have a great day.